Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. So before, when I made my previous video on Hecarim, there was quite a lot of reactions which I got, mainly surrounding my item builds and my use of attack speed on Hecarim. So I'm gonna talk about that in the second half of the video. In the first half of the video, I'm going to talk about the build, why I'm running this build and why I'm not running the old build which I used to run. So this new build which I'll be running will be Black Cleaver, Radiant Virtue, Muramana, Phantom Dancer, Navori Quickblades, and then last item you can go pretty much wherever you want. I normally end up going Essence Reaver or Titanic Hydra, but it really depends on you. You want to go Spirit Visage, you want to go, I don't know. I'll talk more about what you can go later on in the video. So my old build was Umbral Glaive, Muramana, Triforce, Phantom Dancer, Gargoyle, Stoneplate, and Steraks Gauge. That was my old build. But I'll tell you why I've switched, and I'll go into the differences between these builds, because all in all these builds have very similar effective HP and damage in the 15-second window which I give in order to test the damage. So they're pretty much the same, but I'm going to go over the particulars of this build over my build which I previously used to run. So Black Cleaver is a great first item. It gives you ability haste, movement speed, armor pen, AD and HP, which are all stats which are amazing on Hecarim, obviously. So that's pretty much the reason why I go Black Cleaver. You're going to need MR and armor in this build, and Radiant Virtue gives you both of them, along with having a great mythic passive which gives you 100 HP per item which you complete. So here I'm not going to go and talk about all of the items which I use in this build, because some of them are fairly self-explanatory, like Muramana. You know why I use Muramana. But we're going to get into Phantom Dancer and Navori as a combination, and now I'm going to talk specifically about Phantom Dancer when I cover like the more controversial stuff, okay? So Phantom Dancer and Navori Quickblades. So how Navori Quickblades works now is you get the passive, no matter whether you crit or not, the passive now scales purely with attack speed. And the item that gives you the most attack speed currently in the game is Phantom Dancer, meaning the more you auto attack, the more your ability cooldown gets reduced. This works extremely well for one ability in particular, that ability being your W. So unlike a lot of other champions, Hecarim's W does not go on cooldown instantly after being cast. The ability lasts for about 4 seconds, and then at max rank, the ability has about a 14-second long cooldown. Even with around 100 ability haste, it only brings the cooldown down to around 7 seconds, give or take. However, with Navori, you're able to get that cooldown down to around 4.5 seconds, maybe 4 seconds, depending on how fast your attack speed actually is. Maybe you're like attack speed glyphs, the little tiny runes, depends. So, which means you're able to have your W ability up pretty much all of the time, right? You're able to permanently have up your W. The reason why this is so good is because Hecarim's W was buffed not too long ago to give MR and armor when it's activated, not to mention the healing that already comes with the ability. With this build, along with the fact that increased attack speed leads to increased crit chance, I would not be surprised if Hecarim would be able to beat some of the stronger duelists in a 1v1 fight. The other reason why this build is so amazing is because it has no mandatory final item. You can go pretty much whatever item you want. As long as the item gives you some amount of ability haste and some amount of attack speed, the item will still work well with this new build for the W optimization which I spoke about prior. So the main reason why I switched to this build, even though all of the stats are about the same, is because of a fact called consistency. So if you don't know, calculating effective HP is a fairly difficult thing to do because of how inconsistent it can be. For example, MR and armor are ranked about the same, but if you're up against a full AD team, a full AD enemy team, obviously building armor is going to be much better in that case when compared to building MR. Not to mention the fact of shields, such as with Gargoyles and with Steraks, and necessary constituent item passives like Gargoyle's Stoneplate passive, where you have to be hit by a certain amount of people to give you more resistances. Because of all of that, I wanted to add a new metric to my builds, that metric being consistency. For example, a build that relies heavily on a long cooldown shield would be fairly inconsistent, whereas a build that can constantly have an ability that gives you MR and armor, like this one, would be very consistent. And that is why this build is so good. It doesn't really have any long cooldown items apart from Radiant Virtue, but Radiant Virtue is pretty much just a buff to your ult. So all in all, this new build is significantly better. Not to mention the fact that if you go Essence Reaver, you are increasing your crit chance, which obviously is benefited by your increased attack speed, and it also makes your abilities do more damage because of a Navori Quickblades second passive, or maybe it's first passive, I don't remember exactly, but the one which gives you increased damage on abilities depending on your ability, on your crit chance. So now let's move into the controversial stuff, okay? I'm going to read out a comment which I got talking about my build. This guy, I guess, was quite unhappy. So I got very nice comments mostly, but one comment was particularly nasty, I guess you might say. I'll read out this comment here for you. So I'm going to play some pretentious music here in order to make myself sound a bit more arrogant. So let's go. Master 200 LP with 90% win rate on Hecarim right before preseason, and all I've got to say is this is absolutely ridiculous. Been playing the champion for 2.5 years, and from the video alone it's blatant the creator has never been past plat. This is why I won't waste too much time breaking down this nonsense apart from the attack speed part. Amongst all champions, Hecarim synergizes with attack speed the worst amongst all champions, all of them, you know.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
If you wanna go attack speed on the champion, I guess, you know, go Nami over Hecarim apparently, according to this guy, all of them. Wow, that's a big statement from, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Indis, we'll call him. Indis is really going in this comment. Here we go, what else we got? There's a reason you have a passive that scales with movement speed while also having your E. That there is a reason, that's true. But very correct statement we got from Indis here. You press E and run around with a glass cannon build, dodging abilities and executing everyone. That seems to be working out very well for everyone. That's why Hecarim's win rate is so high, it must be. Anyway, moving on. The only point I agree with him on is that Sheen synergizes with his kit, which is a pretty fair point. But all Sheen items are gutted. DS pen reduced from, so Divine Sundra's pen reduced from 3% to 3% from 5%, so that did happen. And unlike what said, Triforce is horrible, all caps on the horrible. Triforce must be an absolutely awful item. I don't know what I was talking about. Must be insane. I don't build it even on champions that is supposed to have the best synergy with. Anyway, I won't further elaborate since I can't pull out my credentials just like that, nor would I want to waste more time on a gold peeker's comment section any longer. Also, he has a little caveat here in brackets, so we got to read that out, of course. Also, gold efficiency doesn't mean anything. I won't be using the vile language which he used there. Absolutely disgraceful. Anyway, so let's test out a few of these guys' ideas. Let's test them out, shall we? Because he made a few claims, and most of the claims were baseless, meaning he did not have any evidence behind what he was saying. He said it, and then he just kind of said it as if it's self-evident. Okay, so let's test a few things. First of all, let's start out with Triforce. I tested every single mythic which gives AD, and I tested it for 15 seconds to see which one did the most damage. Guess which one did the most damage? With Hecarim, I tested this. Guess which one did the most damage? I'll give you a few seconds to think about this. It was Triforce.
What? I don't believe it! Kidding.
It's just as I expected.
What?
Triforce came out on top, and it wasn't even close. No other item even reached apart from Kraken Slayer. Kraken Slayer came out second highest in terms of damage, which isn't too surprising. No other item even reached the same first digit. What I mean is they're all 4,000 damage, and Triforce was over 5,000 damage. They're all under 5,000 damage. Triforce was the only one over 5,000 damage, apart from Kraken Slayer. They were all objectively worse in terms of damage, okay? You could say they all give secondary bonuses, or you could say they all have different passives which are utilized here, which is fair. And I will say that obviously they do have different passives. If you want a different passive and you really think that passive synergizes well with Hecarim, then be my guest. But in terms of damage, that's the best one. What else have we got? If you want what gives the most effective HP, it gives the exact same HP as every single other bruiser item in the game. We're not going to test it to lethality items because they don't give any HP, and we're not going to test it to Crit items, because they also don't give you any HP apart from shield bow, but you need other items to build on that. So in terms of effective HP, it gives the most. In terms of damage, it does the most. Plus it gives you movement speed, which is good on Hecarim. So all in all, Triforce is good objectively. I don't know what other metric he's looking at. I guess what he done was he went into a game, tried Triforce, it felt bad, and then he decided not to go anymore, which is normally what happens. So yeah, again, baseless claim. We look into the actual stats behind it. He's just objectively wrong. Let's move down here, and then let's look into attack speed. So he said, I'll quote him here. I don't want to misquote him, obviously. So he said that amongst all champions, Hecarim synergizes with attack speed the worst. The worst. I'm gonna take back the hyperbole here and assume he's not talking about like random mages or random like supports or whatever it might be. So let's test out Hecarim. Let's see whether a full attack speed build, a full attack build, so crit and attack speed, does worse or better than a full lethality build. So I've done the test here. You're never gonna guess which one does more damage. I'm sure you're gonna be absolutely astounded by the results of this one here. All right, let's go. So it was a 50 armor dummy with 2000 HP, a full lethality build plus Muramana. I've tried out a few different builds, and I'll give you the one here which did the most damage. So this one did 23,200 damage, full lethality plus Muramana. Now going on to a full crit and attack speed build, it did 30,000 damage. It's a lot more, okay? But you might be saying, oh, if he only has 50 armor, then obviously they're reducing the armor to such an extent that a lot of the lethality is going to waste. Fair point, okay? Let's do a 150 armor dummy instead. Full lethality did 13,690 damage, and full crit did about 20,000 damage. Once again, crit wins out. This idea that Hecarim is a pure Q-based champion and he doesn't auto-attack just isn't true. If you want to maximize Hecarim, you can't think like that because you're objectively wrong. If you look at any data, if you actually go into testing grounds, if you go into the practice tool and test out, you'll see what the answer here is, okay? But that might not be enough to convince you, so I'll go further and prove that Hecarim's an attack-based champion. Lethal Tempo versus Conqueror. Lethal Tempo. So all I did here was auto and Q with both Lethal Tempo and Conqueror in 15 seconds. In that 15 seconds, Lethal Tempo did 4,227 damage, and Conqueror did 4,027 damage, okay? So what happened here? I would say you could argue that they're about the same. Maybe there's such an error, such a margin of error that you could say they're about the same, but I'll still say Lethal Tempo does come out on top because all the tests I did showed that Lethal Tempo was doing better. So once again, attack speed is doing better on Hecarim. I don't know what other tests you want me to do here. I don't know what other sort of metric you want me to test it by, but every single metric which I've done here shows that attack speed and crit are better on Hecarim. Okay, and the Triforce is the best mythic to go on Hecarim. There's nothing really more I can do in order to prove my point here. It's just, you're just wrong. It's just incorrect to think that Hecarim is not an auto-attack based champion. He is, okay? He's not a lethality based champion. He doesn't run around one-shotting the backline anymore. He used to, but he doesn't anymore, okay? He can still, if you're very far ahead, obviously. Now let's move on to another point here. Let's say that we go the exact same build, right? So we're going my new build, which I spoke about before. The build where you go Black Cleaver, Radiant Virtue, Muramana, Phantom Dancer, Navori Quickblades, Titanic Hydra, or I think I went Essence Reaver this time. Yeah, I went Essence Reaver in this build. So let's see what does more damage, Lethal Tempo or Conqueror. Conqueror did 29,992 damage, and Lethal Tempo did 34,041 damage. So once again, Lethal Tempo wins out. Am I saying you should go Lethal Tempo? No, because Conqueror gives healing, but I'm not saying that Lethal Tempo is a bad option either. I'm saying that they're about equal, and Conqueror might just eke out above Lethal Tempo, but just, okay? Now let's move on to my very last point. So he was making this critique in particular to my build, in which I was going Phantom Dancer, and he was critiquing Phantom Dancer specifically, this item. Has anybody ever checked how much movement speed Phantom Dancer gives? Has anybody, because there was a lot of comments and I was wondering, because if you check, it's very obvious. One item gives the most movement speed in the game, without most constant movement speed in the game. One item disregarding what's it called? Swifties does the most. And then the second best item is Phantom Dancer. Phantom Dancer gives you more movement speed than tier 2 boots. About 3 more movement speed than tier 2 boots. It gives 3,000 in my life. It gives 393 move speed with Phantom Dancer, and with tier 2 boots you get 390 move speed. Phantom Dancer, when you auto anything once, gives you more movement speed than tier 2 boots. This is why it's so good on Hecarim. People were saying that Hecarim isn't auto attack based, Phantom Dancer's bad on the champion. Bro, just look, just play. If you go into the test ground and auto anything, you will get more movement speed from that one auto than you will get from tier 2 boots on an item which gives you 55% attack speed and which gives you crit and move speed, obviously. So yeah, if you just test it, then you'll find out. I'm not trying to like I'm trying to put down this guy. I don't like this guy in the comment, Mr. what's his name, in this. Not a big fan of the guy, but the other people were fairly respectful. He's really the only guy who was like uppity about it. So yeah, everyone else is cool though. But yeah, so those are the main reasons behind my build, why I go what I go. So yeah, I want to talk about a more general misconception here. Just because people don't go it doesn't mean it's incorrect. Don't follow what other people go. That's not how you build properly in League. No one knows how to build in this game. I don't know why. No one does. Pros don't even know how to build. I was watching a game the other day, and I think it was Academy maybe, and the top laner went Bramble Vest into Executioners. He went double Grievous. It's like, bro, it's not hard to figure out. It doesn't work. So how can I say, when you're building, you have to actively test items. You might think this item's terrible on the champion, test it, see how it goes. You might think this item's great on the champion because everyone goes it, test it, see how it goes. Okay, it's up to you to figure out what item's good or what item's bad, or up to me, I guess, because I'm the one telling you what to build. And that's kind of why I made my channel, because no one can build in this game for some reason. No one can build in this game. And it's kind of, well, not no one obviously, but it's very rare to find somebody who actually like has an original, unique, interesting build, rather than people who just import it from Professor or u.gg or Mobify or whatever, and then just look at the win rate and then just be like, ah, well, this build has a high win rate, therefore it must be good. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about here. Also, posting your rank is extremely cringe. I don't know whether that's just my opinion or whether other people agree with me, but I find it cringe. Anyway, thank you a lot for watching this video. I will see you in the next one, which will be a video on Sejuani.